Hello, good evening. Prerna, am I audible to you? Hello, good evening, Prerna. You are there? Please confirm if I'm audible to you. Yes or no? Prerna, I'm not getting any audio from your side. Kindly check your mic. Hello, good evening, Shifa.
Good evening, sir.
All right. Okay, so Shifa and Prerna was also there. Yeah, okay. Shifa and Prerna. In the previous class, we have started our company account part, volume 2, wherein we just discussed the very basic concept of the company account in the previous session. Before proceeding further in this chapter, we'll first of all, as usual, we'll first of all revise everything and then we'll move to the other topic of this chapter. So, in the previous class, we discussed about the meaning of the company, wherein I've told you that company, as per section 2, subsection 68 of the Companies Act 2013, has been defined as an entity which is registered under the Companies Act 2013 or any other previous law. So, what do you mean by previous law? Previous law means any other law which was applicable prior to Companies Act 2013. See, prior to Companies Act 2013, there was a act which was known as Companies Act 1956. So earlier, prior to 2013, whenever an entity needs to be registered, they need to be registered as per the provision of the Companies Act 1956. Now, in the year 2013, certain amendments have been made, certain changes have been made, and accordingly, new act came into force, which is known as Companies Act 2013. There are certain provision has been changed regarding the registration and other formalities of the company, regarding the starting of the company. So now the thing is that anybody want to start a company, they will have to get a registration under the Companies Act 2013. Okay. Now, we also discussed the features of the company, wherein I've told you that company is a body corporate, or you can also call it an incorporated body or incorporated association. Then it has a perpetual succession. That means it is not the life of the existence of the company does not get affected by the death, retirement, insolvency of any existing member of the company. Then it has a common seal which is used to validate any document, authenticate any document. It basically acts as a signature of the company. Transferability of share is very much possible in case of the company, especially in case of the public company. There are certain restriction upon the transferability of share in case of the private company, but other than the private company, it is pretty much free. Shareholders are pretty much free to transfer their share to anyone. Then company, since it is an entity, it is an artificial person, because law identify a company as a separate entity, and because of that, law also allows a company to sue any person with which company have any kind of problem, or any person can also take legal action upon against the company. That means company can sue and can be sued. And there is one very important feature of the company, that it has a limited liability. This makes the company, you can say, this is a very special feature about the company, which makes a company entity a very special entity. Limited liability is what members of the company or the shareholders of the company is not accountable for the liabilities of all accountable for all the liabilities of the company. Members or shareholders of the company will be held responsible for the amount of shares that they have bought in the company. They will be liable to pay off, pay to the extent of the amount of shares that they have bought. All right. We discussed these things in detail in the last class. Then, apart from this, we also understood that there are two kinds of company. Sorry, there are different kinds of company depending upon two broad classifications. Company can be classified on the basis of liability and on the basis of the members. On the basis of liability, we have company limited by guarantee, companies limited by share, and unlimited companies. All right. Then on the basis of number of members, we have public company, private company, and one person. All right. So in the previous class, we already discussed the meaning of the public and the private company. We need to discuss the other types of companies in today's session, one person company and other companies based on the liability. But as far as the company on the basis of the member, we already covered public and private company. So while discussing the public company, I've told you that in order to start a public company, you need to have at least a paid up capital of at least 5 lakh. Then there should be at least 7 members. There should be at least 3 directors, 3 person who can act as a director. Then such company have no restriction upon the issuance of shares. Such company have no prohibition on the acceptance of deposit from the public as well. But as far but on the other hand, if we talk about the private company is different from public company from the viewpoint of capital, directors, issuance of share, acceptance of deposit. All these things are differently basically treated, or there are different provisions in respect of the private company regarding all these things. Like, for example, if we talk about the capital, in order to start a private company, you should have at least 1 lakh of minimum paid up capital. Then there should be at least 2 members. There should be at least 2 members to start a private company. Unlike public company requires 7, private company requires only 2. But it also required 2% to act as a director at a particular point of time, and maximum number of directors that a private company can have is 15. All right. As far as the issuance of shares is concerned, private company is not allowed to do that. Private company is prohibited to issue shares to the public, as well as private company is also say they won't be able to accept deposits from the public. All right. So all these things we discussed in the previous section. I hope everything that we discussed in the previous class is clear, everybody. Any doubts you want to ask, anything regarding the topic that we already covered, Prerna?
No
And
doubt.
doubt. All right then. So moving on to the next point, let's discuss about the 1% company. So see, 1% company is a very recent concept. It it was not there prior to 2013. It has been recently in the year 2013 has been introduced. As per the companies at 2013 allows an individual person to start a company. So 1% company, as the name suggests, basically means it is an incorporated body. It will be an incorporated body registered under the Companies Act, but will be managed and controlled by only one person. So any organization which is registered under the Companies Act 2013 as per section 2 subsection 62, which is going to be held or controlled or managed by only one person, such company is said to be 1% company, as name itself clarifies it very much. Only a natural person being an individual. Oh yeah, so there are certain conditions in order to start a 1% company. Like there are certain conditions that include: number one, the person willing to start a 1% company need to be Indian citizen who is residing in India. Any person, let's suppose an Indian citizen, you already know the meaning of Indian citizen, right? Any person who is born in India is considered to be an Indian citizen. now an Indian citizen also resides in India, then such individual will can only be allowed to start a one-person company. Let's suppose if any person like you people, for example, if you talk about Prerna is an Indian citizen but living outside India. So that means she is a citizen of India, but she is not resident in India. And if she wants to start a one-person company in India, she won't be able to take the registration under the Companies Act regarding the one-person company. In order to start a one-person company, you have to be citizen, you have to be residing in India. So both conditions need to be satisfied. Number one. So this condition is regarding the person who can take the registration under the one-person company. Now there is one more condition. In order to start a one-person company, you should ensure that your data capital should not be more than 50 lakhs. Basically, for the time being, capital can be understood as the amount of investment. If you are willing to invest more than 50 lakhs in your business at a time, then companies that won't allow you to start a one-person company. You will have to opt between the private company or public company. You cannot go with the one-person company. If you have the capital of rupees 50 lakhs or more than 50 lakhs you are willing to invest in the business, then you cannot do that by starting one-person company. Then also there is one more condition. Anyone can only register a one-person company if the annual turnover means annual sales of the business does not exceed 2 crores. If you are running a business that usually crosses a annual turnover of 2 crores and law does not allow, companies at 2013 does not allow you to register a company as one-person company as per section 2 subsection 62. So you can say these are basic requirement in order to start one-person company. All right, I hope this is clear, both of you. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if it is clear, do you want to write this down or do you want to take a screenshot for now? You can do it later. Tell me what you want. You want to write this down or you want to take the screenshot? I would recommend you just take the screenshot first.
Screenshot. Yes, sir.
Yeah, a screenshot would be better so that it will save some time that we can discuss. We'll be able to discuss some more topics. All right, so take the screenshot quickly. Okay, I hope you're done. So this was these are the different types of company based on the members. So when it comes to members, if you have only 2 members, then you can go for private company. If you have 7 or more members, then you can go for the public company, obviously. And if you have only one person, then one-person company is recommended. All right. Now let's talk about the different types of company based on liability. All right. Based on liability. So based on liability, we have a company called Company Limited by Guarantee. Company on the basis of liability. So on the basis of liability, we have first company that we have is Company Limited by Guarantee. Then we have Company Limited by Share Capital as well. And then we have unlimited liability company. Okay. So first of all, let's discuss about the company limited by share capital. Then we will talk about the guarantee company and unlimited liability. Now see, in case of the company limited by share capital, what happens? That there is a company, let's suppose this is a company. This company issued shares. Let's suppose this company issued shares to public. Issued shares to public. Let's suppose company have issued 10,000 shares to public, and value of each share is rupees 10 rupees per share. So that means if company have issued 10,000 shares having a value, face value of 10 rupees each, that means company wants to raise 1 lakh rupees from public. And now let's suppose one of the person have bought 1,000 shares of this company, right? This person have purchased 1,000 shares of this company out of 10,000 shares. Let's suppose this person have bought 1,000 shares of. Then if he bought 1,000 shares of the company, then can you tell me how much he will have to pay to the company? How much he will be required to pay to company since he have bought 1,000 shares and the value of each share is 1,000? Then how much will be his obligation towards the company? How much he will have to pay to the company?
10,000.
Yes. Since the value of each share is 10 rupees, that means his total obligation towards the company is 10, right? Now see, pay attention to that and listen. What happens is sometimes company usually don't collect the entire amount of money from the public at once. Company may ask the shareholder to pay this amount in installment. Like for example, company may ask this person to pay 10,000 in this way. The company says that company requires him to pay 5 rupees on application, and let's suppose on allotment of shares, company wants him to pay let's suppose 3 rupees, and on final call, company wants him to pay 2 rupees. So what are these things? Application, allotment, and final. What are these? These are, you can call them for now. These are different installments. Installments. What is happening now? Company want to raise 10 rupees per share. 10 rupees per share from the person who have purchased the shares of the company. So this person have purchased 1,000 shares, and now company wants him to pay this 10 rupees per share in these installments. The name of the first installment is application money, then second installment will be allotment money, and final call will be the third installment. So company basically want him to pay in 3 installments. So as soon as he will apply for the for purchasing share, he will have to pay rupees 5 on application. That means he will be paying 1,000 into 5. He will have to pay 5,000 on application. All right. Then he also paid 1,000 into 3 as soon as the shares were allotted to him. Shares were given to him. He will have to he paid 3,000 on allotment. And tell me how much is still remaining to be paid. How much he will pay more? Any idea? How much he will have to pay more?
2,000.
How much he will 2,000 more is required to be paid. This is still outstanding. Pay attention to that one. This is still outstanding. Now, meanwhile, company goes on. You can company a company got insolvent or goes on, company have decided to close down the operation. Or let's suppose for now the company have a liabilities. Company's liability is total of 5 lakh, right? That means company have to pay to their creditors 5 lakh rupees. Now the question is that how much this company, how much more this company may ask this shareholder to pay? How much more this company can ask him to pay? He only bought 1,000 shares of 10 each. That means his total obligation was 10,000. Out of 10,000, he already paid 5,000 on application. He already paid 3,000 on allotment. How much is still outstanding? Only 2,000. Then what is the maximum amount that a company can claim from the shareholder? Tell me. What will be his liability? What will be his liability? What will be his remaining liability? You tell me. Whether he will have to contribute to pay off the entire liability of the company, that means 5 lakh, or he will have to pay only the outstanding amount, unpaid amount towards the share that he had bought. Tell me. How much more he will be required to pay to the company? Prerna, Zainab, and Chika.
Outstanding amount.
Outstanding amount. That's right. That's right. Because he he does not care about the liability of the company. Since he is just a shareholder of 1,000 shares, so his liability will be towards those 1,000 shares that he had bought. Or you can say towards those amount which is still remain outstanding. Only the outstanding amount or the unpaid amount need to be paid by the shareholder. His liability will be limited to the extent of the share that he have bought. This is what this is what limited liability company means. If you are investing in a limited liability company and if you have bought, let's suppose, 1,000 shares of rupees 10 each, then your total liability cannot exceed 10,000. Your liability will be limited up to 10,000. That means you will have a maximum loss of 10,000, not more than that. You're not going to bear more loss or more liability which is exceeding 10,000. The liability will be limited up to rupees 10,000. This is what happens in the limited liability company. I hope this is clear. Everybody, please confirm. Shifa, Prerna, and Janab, is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this was limited liability company. So basically, if you become a member or the shareholder in a limited liability company, there will be an advantage that you won't have to contribute toward the entire liability of the company. You will be responsible for the amount of share that you have bought. If you have bought the shares of rupees 1 lakh, your liability will extend to the extent of only 1 lakh, not more than that. Even if company have crores of liability upon even if there are crores of liability upon the company, then you won't be held responsible to pay off those liability. This is a special feature only in case of company. But if you're running a business, let's suppose if you have started a proprietorship business or a partnership business, in case of the proprietorship business or partnership business, what happens? Unless and until all the liabilities of the business get discharged, no partner can be held free. Every partner or the proprietor of the business will be responsible toward the loss of the business, towards the liability of the business, unless and until the entire liability is discharged. This does not happen in case of company. Member of the company or the shareholder of the company will be held responsible for the number of shares that he has bought. The amount of outstanding amount, he will only be responsible for that. Okay. So this was about the company limited by share capital. We understood that. Now we are moving to the company limited by guarantee. So what do you mean by company limited by guarantee? Now, what happens in this case? A company is formed after formation of company. Like, for example, if anybody wants to become the shareholder in this company or become the member in this company, like, for example, there is Mr. X who want to become member in this company. Now, if he wants to become member in the company, he will have to give a guarantee for a certain amount. Company requires him to give a guarantee that he will contribute towards to the company in case a company goes into liquidation. Now, for example, he promised or guaranteed that he will be contributing 5 lakh. So this is the amount of guarantee. He will be called member by guarantee. Mr. X will be called member of this company by guarantee. Now, company can ask Mr. X to pay the guaranteed amount. Company may ask, since Mr. X has given the guarantee of rupees 5 lakh that he will be contributing to the company, he have given the guarantee to the company that he will contribute 5 lakh to the company. So this is the guaranteed amount that he has promised to the company. So the company can ask Mr. X to pay 5 lakh, but the guarantee amount, but the amount which has been guaranteed can only be claimed by the company if company goes into liquidation. Liquidation is what? Liquidation is basically closing down the business. If company have decided to close down the operation, and at the time of closing down the business, if company requires fund, like at the when company decide to close down the business, and on that date, what happens? No, we pay off all the liabilities out of our assets. Whatever the liability we have at the end of the business, at the time of the closing down the business, we need to pay off all the liabilities out of our asset, out of the asset of the company. Now, for example, if company owns total asset of, for example, 25 lakhs only, and liability of the company stands at 40 lakh. All right, 40 lakh. That means 25 lakh of the liability can be paid off directly from the asset of the company. But even after paying off the liability out of the asset, even after paying 25 lakh liability out of the asset, outstanding liability will still be there for rupees 15 lakh. Question arises, how are we going to pay off this liability? So in such a scenario, company may ask Mr. X to contribute the guaranteed amount. Got it? So basically, in case of guarantee company, member will have to give guarantee at the time of becoming the member in the company that they will be contributing certain amount of fund if in case company goes into liquidation. This amount cannot be asked by the company during the operation of the company. If the company is running successfully, if company have decided to continue the operation, during the running or operations of the business, company cannot ask Mr. X to pay 5 lakh. But if company have decided to go into liquidation or company have decided to close down the operation of the business, and then in such a scenario, company may ask Mr. X to give the guaranteed amount that he has promised at the time of becoming the member. All right, I hope this point is clear. This is what happens in case of company limited by guarantee. So what is different in case of the company limited by guarantee as compared with the company limited by share capital? The difference is that in case of the company limited by guarantee, company does not issue share. In fact, the member become the member in the guarantee by company without contributing any capital. They just give a they just promise a certain amount that they will be contributing if the company goes into liquidation. That is it. This is what we call company limited by guarantee. Now there is one more important point here. Now let's suppose now currently see the total asset of the company is 25 lakh at the time of the liquidation and total liability stand at 40 lakh. That means outstanding liability is still 15 lakh. All right. But even if the liability of the company stands at 15 lakh, how much Mr. X can contribute? What amount company may ask Mr. X to contribute? Whether Mr. X will be required to contribute entire 15 lakh to pay off the entire liability of the company? Answer is no. he will be contributing to the extent of the guarantee that he has given. That means Mr. X liability will be limited to the extent of the amount of guarantee that he has provided. All right, is that clear? Vanisha, Prerna, and Shifa. This is what happens in case of company limited by guarantee. Shifa, is that clear to you as well? Then please confirm if it is clear to you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we understood company limited by guarantee, company, and now let's talk about the unlimited. Now, unlimited company and company limited by guarantee is pretty much similar. The only thing is that, like for example, if you are willing to become a member in a company which is limited by which is a unlimited liability company. So let's suppose again Mr. X have decided to become member in this company. All right. Now, in case if in case the company is unlimited company, what happens that if company see this is very important and this is very much contradictory as well. Like in the previous class, we discussed a feature about about a company that company always have limited liability, right? I've told you that while discussing the features of the company, I've told you that there is one important feature about the company is that company always have a limited liability. That means shareholder becoming the person becoming the shareholder in the company will always have limited liability. Then how a company can have the unlimited liability? This is very much contradictory, na? This type of company is contradictory to the features of the company. As per the feature, company always have limited liability. Then how can we form an unlimited liability company? What do you mean by unlimited liability company? So see, unlimited liability company is what? Unlimited liability company means that suppose if a person becomes member in a company, then during the operations of the business, during the during the tenure in which company runs successfully, during the operations of the business, during the operation of the company, liability of Mr. X will remain limited. He will have limited liability to the extent of share that he have bought in the company. His liability will be limited by shares that he has bought. But as soon as company have decided to liquidate, as soon as company decide to liquidate, let's suppose, let me give you an example. Let's suppose company was started in the year 2011, and from 2011 till 2021, company was smoothly running the business, but suddenly in the year 2022, company have decided to close down the operation. So that means company have decided to liquidate. Liquidation process started. So as soon as company have decided to liquidate the business or close down the operation of the business, liability of Mr. X will become unlimited. He will be responsible towards the company unlimited. Got it? So unlimited liability company means a company that have limited liability during the operations of the business, during the period in which company operate and run successfully. But as soon as the company have decided to go into liquidation, members of such company become unlimited liable. They will have the unlimited liability. This is what unlimited liability company means. That means if at the time of the closure of the business, a company holds assets of rupees 25 lakh and the liability stands at 40 lakh, then 15 lakh of outstanding liability need to be contributed by the members. Members means Mr. X and the other members who are part of the company. They will be contributing towards such loss. And what extent they will be sharing, they will be contributing towards such loss. There is no fixed amount to the extent of which they will be held responsible. Their liability will be unlimited. They will have to contribute towards the entire amount of loss. Obviously, collectively, no one person cannot be held responsible to pay off all the liability. In fact, the total shareholder who are the part of the company will be contributing towards such loss collectively. All right, am I clear, everybody? Prerna, Stefan, Pranav, is that clear to all of you? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So about if we talk about the unlimited company always have limited liability during the life of the business, life of the company. But as soon as company have decided to liquidate its operation, the members of the company have unlimited liability. Okay. So this is all about the different types of company. We discussed all different types of companies as per our syllabus. Now let's move to the next topic. Okay. Now let's talk about the share capital and the different category of share capital for accounting purpose. So first of all, share capital is basically the amount invested in a company, amount invested in a company or by the amount with which a company will be operating is called the share capital. If company is operating with a capital of 5 lakh, then this is called the share capital. But share capital of the company has been broadly classified into various categories. Like first thing under the share capital is, let me show you. First thing that comes under the share capital is authorized capital. Authorized capital. So what is authorized capital? Authorized capital means the amount that a company can raise from the public. Maximum amount that a company can raise from the public is called authorized capital. See, authorized capital of the company need to be declared by the company in their memorandum of association. There is a special document. In case of company, we have, if you have read, if you, I guess you must have heard while discussing the business studies topic. If you learned about the company, you must have been taught about the memorandum and articles of association. So it is a document of the company. There are two important documents of the company. One is called the AOA, Articles of Association, and then there is MOA, Memorandum of Association. So I'm sure you must have heard about these documents in respect to the company. So if we talk about the authorized capital is the maximum amount that a company can raise from the public, and this need to be declared in the memorandum of association. So no company can issue and raise funds more than the authorized capital. Or let's suppose in the memorandum of association, a company mentioned that 50 lakh is the amount that they will be raising from the public. Then this fact 50 lakh will be called the authorized capital. Right. That means this much amount this company is authorized to raise from the public. This much amount is this company is authorized to raise from the public. So basically, we can write this as maximum amount that can be raised from public. All right. So this is called authorized capital. I hope this is clear, everyone. Is this clear? The maximum amount that is that a company can raise from the public is called authorized capital, and it is authorized as per which document? As per the memorandum of association. No company can violate memorandum of association. Now the thing is that let's suppose if memorandum of association allows a company to raise 50 lakh from the public, and this will be called authorized capital, right? But what happens if company want to raise more funds? Like in future, if company want to expand more and requires more fund, then obviously they will be willing to raise more funds from the public, right? But since the memorandum of association does not allow the company to raise funds more than 50 lakh, then how such company can expand their business? All right. Like for example, if company have already raised 50 lakh, but it also further requires more fund in order to expand the business. Now, as per the memorandum of association, this company won't be able to raise more funds since memorandum of association allows company to raise 50 lakhs only. Then in such a situation, if company requires more fund, then memorandum of association can be updated and revised and amended. We can amend the memorandum of association with the approval of the existing shareholders. We can raise the limit from 50 to any other value. Like for example, if you want to raise more fund and you want to raise more, for example, 100 lakh fund or 1 crore, so we can update this to 150. Authorized capital of the company will be updated to 150. The thing that I want to explain is that authorized capital is given there in the memorandum of association. No company is allowed to issue more than the amount of authorized capital. No company, and if any company does that, that will be considered as the violation of the memorandum of association, and that will obviously attract heavy penalty. All right. But if company want to raise more fund in future, then obviously they can amend the memorandum of association and accordingly change the value, and then they will be in a position to raise more funds from the fund. All right. So this was the authorized capital. Now, like for example, the authorized capital that we discussed is, for example, it is 50 lakh. 50 lakh is the authorized capital, for example. Now this authorized capital can be divided into shares. All right, and let's suppose company have divided the entire capital into the shares of 100 each. Divided into shares of rupees 100 each. So if company have authorized capital of 50 lakh divided into shares of rupees 100 each, that means company have total authorized shares of how much? Tell me. 50,000, right? Company have total authorized share as 50,000. 50,000 shares having a value of 100 each. When you will multiply this, you will get the total authorized capital of each 50. All right, am I clear, everybody? Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Shifa, is that clear to you as well?
Yes, sir.
All right. Then after that, now, for example, at the initial stage of business, company just want to raise a fund of rupees 30 lakh. Company is not willing to raise the entire 50 lakh from the public. Company just want to raise 30 lakhs from the public. So out of 50 lakh. If company only want to issue 30 lakh, then they will definitely be issuing only 30,000 shares, right? So out of 50,000 shares, if company have decided to issue 30,000 shares to public, having a value of 100 each, that means company is willing to raise how much fund? Only 30 lakhs. So the amount of share which is actually issued to public is called issued capital. This is called issued capital. Out of 50,000 shares, company do not want to raise the entire 50 lakh at once. So depending upon the need, company just want to raise 30 lakh, and for that purpose, company have decided to issue 30,000 shares out of 50,000 shares. So the amount of share being issued and the amount of capital that company want to raise is called issued capital. All right. And let's suppose out of issued capital, public is willing to purchase only 28,000 shares. Even though company have issued 30,000 shares, but public have shown interest in buying only 28,000 shares. Out of 30,000 shares, company have shown interest in buying 28,000 shares, having a value of rupees 100 each. That means public are willing to purchase the shares up to the value of 28 lakhs. Public is willing to purchase 28,000 shares, and if public is willing to purchase 28,000 shares, that means public will be able to pay 28 lakh shares. Is that right? So this is called the number of shares that public actually willing to purchase, wants to purchase, is called subscribed capital. Company actually purchased 28,000 shares, so this is called subscribed capital. Am I clear? Shifa, Prerna. So these 3 points are clear.
Yes, sir.
Share capital can be broadly classified as authorized capital, issued capital, and subscribed capital. All right. So what is subscribed capital? Subscribed capital is the amount of share that public is actually willing to purchase. All right. Now, since public have purchased 28,000 shares of rupees 100 each, but that means public have shown interest in buying how much shares? Public have shown interest in buying 28,000 shares. All right. Now, what happens that company may not require 28 lakh at the same time. Company does not require all the money, all 28 lakh at the same time. Then they may ask people to pay this amount in installments. All right. So let's suppose yeah. So I was saying subscribed capital is the amount of shares that that public is willing to purchase. Now out of subscribed capital, company just like for example, company want public to pay 60 rupees per share, each share having a value of 100 rupees. Na? But right now, company just want people to pay regarding the 28,000 shares that public have shown interest to purchase, 28,000 shares. Company want public to pay 60 rupees each on share. That means right now, company just want to raise how much? 28,000 into 600, 28,000 into 60, sorry, into 60. That means right now, company want public to pay 16 lakh 80,000. Remaining amount will be called upon later. Right now, the company just want to raise 16.8. Company want public to pay, in fact, 16.8, 16 lakh 80,000. So the amount that company wants public to pay right now out of the subscribed capital that we have, public have purchased or willing or shown interest in purchasing, is called, this is called called up capital. This is called called up capital. So basically, called up capital is part of subscribed capital, which is being called up from the public. All right, is that clear? Called up capital is what? The amount that company have decided to call from the shareholders immediately after the subscription. And there is one more part of this subscribed capital which is not yet called up now. Remaining amount will be called up later. So how much is still not called up? This is called uncalled capital. How much is still uncalled? How much is still uncalled? Uncalled capital will be, uncalled capital will be, it will be for 28,000 shares. Company just want to ask, company just wanted public to pay 60 rupees per share. Then it's still 40 rupees per share they can ask, but the company have decided to ask for this amount later. So that means remaining amount will be 11 lakh 20,000. 11 lakh 20,000 is the uncalled capital that can be asked by the company later whenever required. Got it? Is this clear, everybody? Yes or no? Please confirm. Prerna, is that clear to you? Shikha, is that clear to you?
No, sir, I didn't understand the called up and uncalled capital. Why can't we just do 2,000 shares into 60 into 100 each?
20. It's not 2,000. It's 28,000. Yeah. What were you saying? Why can't we?
Yeah, but subscribed capital is 28,000 shares, right?
Yes.
So that makes 28 lakh, but the issued capital is 30 lakh. So to make it 30 lakh, we need 2,000 shares more.
No. See,
So,
what happens now? We have issued, like for example, I'm trying to sell you 30,000 shares. I ask you whether you want to buy 30,000 shares, but you showed interest in buying only 28,000 shares. That means you are not willing to purchase more than 28,000. So the amount of share that I have issued is 30,000 shares. But since you have shown interest in buying only 28,000 shares, that will be called the subscribed capital. Now, since you have subscribed 28,000 shares, then how much amount I can ask you to pay? Having a value of 100 rupees per share, I can ask you to pay 28 lakh, right? But right now, I just require 16 lakh 80,000. For some purpose, like for example, I just want to purchase one or two machinery, and therefore I do not require the entire 28 lakh to be paid at once. I want you to pay the 60 rupees per share for 28,000 shares, and remaining amount I will be asking you to pay later. So the amount that you will be paying me as I asked you to pay 60 rupees per share, that will be called up capital. I've asked you to pay only 60 rupees per share, that will be called up. And the amount that I'll be asking you to pay later, whenever required, that will be called uncalled capital. Got it? Is that clear now?
Yes, sir.
If you want me to explain it again, I can do that as well. Prerna, and
No, sir, I got it.
got it. Okay. Prerna, do you have any doubt?
No, sir.
No. So called up capital and uncalled capital is part of subscribed capital. Whatever the public have public is willing to purchase, out of that, what we are actually asking people to pay is called up, and whatever the amount that we will be asking them to pay later, that is called uncalled. Now see what happens. Like for example, I asked Shifa to pay 60 rupees per share on 28,000 that she is willing to purchase, but on the called up amount, she only paid for she paid for 28,000 shares, but let's do it this way. She paid for out of 28,000 shares, she only paid for 20,000 shares at rupees 60. So I basically wanted Shifa or company or actually wanted to pay company wanted public to pay 28,000. Company wanted public to pay for 28,000 shares at the rate 60. But public actually paid 20,000 for 20,000 shares at 60 each. That means company only paid how much? 12 lakh. So the amount that the people have actually paid is called, this is called paid up capital. Paid up, this is paid up capital. So even though public were required to pay 16.8, but they have only paid 12 lakh. That means the remaining amount is still in arrears. We will be asking them pay the remaining amount later. So that is called the amount that is not yet paid is called the arrear. So basically, for the called up amount, whatever the amount that public has paid is called paid up capital. An amount which is not yet paid, even after calling public to pay for that, but it is still not paid, is called calls in arrears. Calls in arrears. How much is still in arrears? 20 for 8,000 shares. For 8,000 shares, 60 is still pending, right? That is 4,80,000 is still pending. This is called calls in arrears. Am I clear, everybody? Shifa, Prerna, you want me to explain it again? Shifa, is that clear to you? Prerna, is that clear to you?
No, sir, can you explain it again?
Yes.
Okay. You want me to explain it again, Shifa? Okay, now see what happens. We have issued 30,000 shares, but public actually willing to purchase 28,000 shares. When they have actually willing to purchase 28,000 shares, we ask people to pay 60 per share for 28,000 shares that they are willing to purchase. But when we ask them to pay for 28,000 shares, they just paid for 20,000 shares, and for remaining 8,000 shares, they haven't paid any amount yet. They will be paying it later. Because of some reason, they haven't made the payment. So we have called public to pay for 28,000 shares at the rate 60 each. But out of this, public have paid only for 20,000 shares at 60 each. So what about the remaining shares? Remaining shares is still in pending. They haven't paid any amount regarding in respect of 8,000 shares. So how much amount we will be collecting? We must have collected from the public. We must have collected for 20,000 shares only at 60 each. That means total amount that will be paid by the public will be 12 lakh. This is called the paid up capital. And the amount that will be that is not yet paid, which is still in arrears, is called calls in arrears. All right, like 28,000 shares were issued, and out of 28,000 shares, people have paid only 20,000 shares, and for the remaining shares, they haven't made any payment. So the in respect of shares for which payment is not yet received, it's called calls in arrears. And in respect of shares that they have subscribed and they for which they have made the payment, is called the paid up capital. This is it. I hope it is clear now.
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? All right. So this is the different categories of the share capital. So whenever we talk about share capital, that includes the share capital have various elements. Authorized capital is the amount by which a company is basically registered, or the maximum amount that a company can raise from the public as per the memorandum of association. This is always regulated through memorandum of association. You cannot surpass balance memorandum of association. Company will have to basically raise fund. Company can raise fund to the extent of the amount that is authorized by the memorandum of association, and therefore it is called authorized capital. Out of the authorized capital, whatever the amount that company is currently trying to raise from the public is called issued capital. Then out of issued capital, whatever the share that public is willing to purchase is called or subscribed capital. And out of the subscribed capital, whatever the amount that company have actually called up from the public to pay is called up, and the amount which is not yet called out of the subscribed capital, which is not yet called from the public, is called uncalled capital. And for the called up capital, whatever the amount the public have actually paid is called paid up, and public the for the share that company the public have not yet paid is called calls in arrears. Right. So this is it. Uh, this is all we need to discuss in this chapter as far as the theoretical part of the chapter is concerned. From the next class onward, we will be talking about the accounting aspect of this chapter. We'll talk about the accounting treatment of the issue of share. So this is it for as far as the theoretical part of the topic is concerned. As of now, we won't be going beyond this. We won't be discussing anything more than that. From the next class onward, we'll be discussing the accounting treatment of this issue of shares. And I'll share the theoretical note of this chapter just after this session. All right. So if you have any doubt, anything that you want to ask, please go for it.